that everything is working. Okay. Okay, and you guys can hear me?
Loud and clear, John.
Okay. Thanks, Bronwyn. Okay, cool. So last session before you write tomorrow morning. How are you guys feeling? And you can unmute. I don't mind unmuting. Let's have a quick chat and then we can look at a few questions. Nervous? I see there's lots of chat on the WhatsApp group, so please continue with that during the evening and whenever you want to. Obviously, I will mute on my side that I'm not kept awake for all evening, but please use the WhatsApp group. I think as well, it's you guys can, if it bothers somebody, just mute during the evening as well, and then yeah, please continue that you don't need to do this again. Okay, so let's. I've got a few 3 questions that I want to look at, and then you can also in the chat post questions if you want to, and then I will copy it out of the chat into my screen, and we can basically work like that as well. So I don't have a problem if you post a few questions within the chat function. So let's look at the 3 that I wanted to do first. So I thought I'm first going to look at the question 29 and 30 that everybody was talking about nearly on the WhatsApp group. And the one thing that I think we also need to, I think there was as you will see, between these 2, there's actually no difference. So I think in the exam, there was different shaded areas, and that's why. But otherwise, those 2 are exactly the same, where these 2 are exactly the same. So I think what happened that there was different shaded areas in this one for the exam. So I rather want us to look at the equations and then say how it would have looked like. I think that is rather what I want us to do. So what I first do with the equation like this is I would look at this part. So for me, I would look at that part first, and that tells me that the x need to be bigger than 0, and the y needs to be bigger than 2. So my assumption was that that line is probably the line that is 2. So that was just my assumption, that everywhere that would have been 2. So out of the options, it would have been going to that way and then going that way. So that's the first thing I would have looked at, and then I would look at the other 2 options. So then I look at that one, and I would say, okay, so when x is 0, what is the value of 5? What's the value of y? It's 5. So in all of these, the value is 5. But when we look at, so if y is then 0, what's the value of x? So if y is 0 we have 2x is equal to 30, so x will be equal to 15. So basically then we only have those two. So these two I would have eliminated already because that line is wrong. Then if I look at the second one, and also what that tells me is that it needs to be bigger. It's bigger or equal to 30, so it will be bigger than. And I think that is probably where these two graphs were different. Then I would look at option 2, and there again I would say, okay, if x is 0, what is the value of y? It is 10, so that is right. That is right. If y is equal to 0, what is the value of x? It is 5, so that is right, and that is right. And it needs to be bigger than that line. So it basically tells me that the line that I will be working with, or the area of acceptance, is that block. Because it needs to be bigger than that line, and it needs to be bigger than that one. So basically we are sitting with that area, and it needs to be bigger than 2. So we are basically sitting with that area. And I think the option would have been probably that the one, and I don't know which one, but the one would have been that area, and the other one was probably that smaller area. So I don't know which one was which, but this is how you would calculate it. Okay, is that what, I'm just hoping that is what you guys also got out of it. Or if you used the online calculator, that is also what it would have given you. Quickly ask some questions around this if you are still unclear, because you will get something like this in the exam tomorrow. So it's not even a question of either or, you will get something like this. Okay, so then basically question 30 was working with this set of numbers. So question 30 was basically you are sitting with, let me quickly, so that is your minimize equation. So you will have to say, okay, and if I did the Scully way, I would have said, well, I look at those answers, Z, when I minimize, it is probably going to be 9 because that's the smallest answer. But let's quickly check. So your region for minimize, so let's look at that we have there. So it can be that point, or it can be that point, or it can be that point. So that is basically the 3 areas. So if I look at this, okay, I would use that one first. So your x would have been 0, your y would have been 10. So x0, y10, so it would have given me the 12. So that actually works out. To get those 2 points, so that one is going through y is equal to 2. Okay. But here I needed to find out what is that point. So I needed to use that equation. So if I used that equation, I needed to say 2x plus 6y is equal to 30. I know y is equal to 2, so I can substitute y equal to 2 in there. So 2x will be equal to 30 minus 12, which is 18. X will give me 9, which was the case. And then if I put in x and y, the values in there, 2 times y would have given me the 2.4, and then 9 times the 1.8 would have given me the 16. So I would have gotten that number, and that is obviously not minimizing it because that one is already showing me that it is a bigger number, that is the bigger number. So that one would not be an option. Okay, so let's look at x5, yz. Okay, so that is not even, so x5, y0, so that point is actually not a point that is part of the feasibility area, so that wouldn't have worked. So I would have been wrong if I just call it that one. Then we have worked out that point, so if we want to get that point, we also need to say the one graph is equal to the other one, so we need to basically work with those two. So I still needed to say 2x, and let's just save before it bombs on me. Okay, so I needed to say 2x plus 6y is equal to 30. The other one was 4x plus 2y equal to 20. So I would have basically, where's the easiest one to work with? I would have divided by, by d. To work out this quickly, there isn't probably a quick way. If I divide it by 2, I could have worked something out there. If I can't divide there, if I divide it by 2, yes. So I would have divided that one by 2. So then I would have gotten so let's do that. So if I divided the second one by 2, I would have gotten 2x plus y equal to 10. The top one was still, now I can say, basically if I subtract the one from the other one, the x's will fall away. 6y minus y will be 5y. 50 minus 10 will be 20. So y will be equal to 4. Just want to check. So that was actually y was equal to 4. And then if I substitute y in any of those two, 4 times 6 is 24. If I take the 24 to that side, 30 minus 24 is 6. So we're sitting with 2x equal to 6. X is equal to 3, and then if you substitute in, you will actually get that point as the point that minimizes it. Sure, okay. And hopefully the calculator could have been easier way of one of our online calculators. Okay, so minimize means getting the smallest value when you substitute for points. That is correct. So basically, the minimize is you minimize your profit. So that is the smallest amount of products you need to create or to make. That is what's happening. Okay,
So
question.
can I
Yes.
just ask something? So here I just asked what does minimize mean, but are we working like solving they are called simultaneous equations, I think. Is that what we do mathematically?
Yes. Yes. So basically, you solving where the equations that are equal will have the smallest number, basically. So you solving to see which one of those 3 points, if you use those x and y variables and you substitute it into your profit function, will give you the smallest number. So that is basically what you're doing.
That so I can use those two equations, 2x plus 6y equals 30, 4x plus 2y equals 20, and then solve for x and y there. And then
Yes,
substitute those on the z equals 1.8x plus 1.2y.
perfect.
Oh,
100%.
thank you.
100%. Yes, 100%. Okay. More questions on this one. So basically it was those two. So yeah, you basically, I think with this, what is also very important for me is that you make sure about these signs for when you need to pick the region. So if, and also what I think also important is to it, when you look at the sign, if it is smaller than, it means that you're looking to the other side of the equation, where this was bigger than. That's why we looked at the bigger than portion of the diagram. So just important also to look at that. The other thing is, and I think I'm just gonna write it here. I just want to show something else to you guys as well. And I'm just always worried how so we are used to the equation being like this. So we are used to that, and I'm just writing 2 equations. So we used to seeing the equations like this. Okay, and that is, it's different numbers, but it's very similar to what we had there. What they can do is you can get this in the exam. And you can get something like this in the exam. Okay, and then basically that what I would then do is that you write it in the form that you normally would have as here, so that you don't get confused, because you need to write it then like that. So you will just bring the the numbers over so that you can just see what you are working with. So that if there is a change in the sign or something needs to happen, that at least it makes sense for you, because sometimes one can now look at this and make the wrong assumptions when you work with the diagram. So I would just, whenever it changes, please just rewrite it. What also can happen, and I think that is, so it could have been, okay. So here, yes. So here, those two are actually exactly the same. So that is what is important. So it just so that you won't, if you rewrite this, it needs to be rewritten as that. So just remember that, so that you don't make the mistake that you have a smaller than and you write it across and move it across, and now suddenly you keep it that small or equal to, and then you will make the wrong assumption when you need to look at the feasibility. So just, if I want to sneak in something like this tomorrow, just be careful. Yes, so the signs change if you divide or multiply by a negative. But remember these two cases, that if you bring everything to the one side, remember, because what this is also saying to me is x plus 2y is bigger than equal to 14, and this one says exactly the same, so that you don't rewrite it wrong when you bring it over. Okay, so that is just a tip for tomorrow, if they do something like that. Okay, then I also wanted to, because there wasn't a lot of chatter on this on the group, so I was just worried that, because this again is not, I think, one that one can actually do with any of the calculators. So you need to work with this one in the exam to do it, or you basically just guess option 3. As we all said, that is your answer in any case. So let's quickly look at this one, and then please, after this one, start, if there's any questions that you can post on the chat, please do that. Okay, so the bargain furniture store pays 300 Rand for a chair and basically 240 for a small table. A recent shipment of 22 units cost the store at least 6,180. If this information is written as a system of inequalities, it will be presented by. Okay, so basically what we need to do with this one is, and how I normally want to write it, and draw the diagram. I don't think this was done like this on the memo, so and then I normally would say, okay, let's look at, well, if that is enough information, maybe there's less information here. the bargain store pays 300 for a chair, 240 for a small table. Oh, there's not a lot of information actually on this one. Okay, so, oof, okay, that's not even needed. Okay, so basically the first equation I would look at is there's 22 units. So the maximum is oh yes, sorry, we're still on the May-June 2019 paper. So basically this is a very simpler one to get to, and I was wondering why we don't need to even create a grid. So basically 22 units, so we know that C plus T will be smaller or equal to 22 because a recent shipment of 22. Okay, so that now is a very interesting one. So would you guys say smaller or equal to 22 or equal to 22? Okay, equal to. So I normally want to say, as you would see, I normally go always to the smaller or equal to or bigger than, and it actually would have made me get to the wrong answer. A recent shipment of 22 units. So it is exactly 22 units. Okay, so then option 1 I can eliminate. Option 2 I can eliminate. Option 4 I can eliminate. Okay, so then, so it's or that one or that one. Okay, so let's look at the other one. The bargain furniture store pays 300 Rand a chair. And 240 for a table. That's why I need that pen. 240 for a table. And it cost the store at least 6108. Okay, so there you get the small or equal to, because it's, oh no. At least means bigger than or equal to. Yes, greater than or equal to. So basically that is our option, is option 3. Okay, so it was not as tricky as that there is 2 or 3 systems of inequalities, but that for me it's the first time that I nearly see something that is equal to, because I'm normally looking for smaller or equal to or bigger or equal to, and then remember that the other thing that was important here, at least means that it's bigger or equal to. Okay, so that is the two things that was important in this one that could have catch you out, and it would have catch me out. That one would have been, I would have gone for smaller or equal to. So I would have probably gone for option 1, but then I would have looked at that, and then I would have maybe seen it smaller than, and then I wouldn't have known what, and then I probably would have gone for none of the above. Okay, so is there any other questions that you guys have? Otherwise, I'll go through the rest of this paper. Otherwise, post one or two pictures in the chat, and I can pick that up. Or is there anybody that wants to ask something before we nearly go into some of the other questions? I was hoping so. So I was hoping that none of the above will be taken out of the multiple choice questionnaire, because it wasn't in your assignments, but I could not pick up in the exam guidelines how many options you will get. So I was worried that maybe it is in the exam, it's still the 5 options, but it is seldom one of the options. I think in all the previous papers that I've looked at, there was probably one time none of the above. So I'm hoping that, okay, sure. Okay, let's quickly get to, okay, so there was question 26 on which paper? Then at least we can finish. Yeah, no, I know. If none of the above is, it really kills the Scully method. But we got the Scully method sorted in the previous exam as well. So let me. Okay, so Tiffany, question 26, was that on the 2019 paper? Then I can just quickly copy that in. We can look at it. Okay, cool. The 2019 paper. Let me just quickly see where is my 2019 paper. And then we can go to the 2018 paper after that. And then we can go to that question 19. Okay, so maybe first question 19, but let's quickly look at question 26. Obviously, some of my work is still on this that I've been working on this afternoon. So let's quickly check again. Okay, can you guys still see the screen or not? Okay, I'll share it now again. Let me just see if I can quickly copy the other question out as well. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly check. Okay, I think you are supposed to see it now again. Just one thumbs up and then, okay, cool. Okay, so let's quickly evaluate the following. Integral. Okay, so what would you have done here? Okay, anybody want to try this? What would you have done here? Yeah, put it in the calculator. This is quite interesting. Because what would I have done with this one? Because it doesn't tell you. I'm just working out something quickly. I just want to see what I get. Yeah, that's really what I also wanted to do. So, but do I then get that? I don't get one of the answers because it doesn't really tell you to, unless I'm now calculating it wrong.
Hi.
So do you first need to
You
work
first
out
have to integrate.
you first need
Yeah.
to integrate and then you substitute.
Yeah. And then that's what they mean by definite integral. So you first have to integrate the function and then you substitute the 5 and the 1.
And this is a straightforward integration.
Yeah, no, it's straightforward. So, okay, if I do the integral, it will be 2x squared over 2, which is just x squared. And then plus x to the power 4 divided by 4.
So it would have been, I hate it when the English that they use is basically that. So you would have gotten the 2 and 2, so you would have gotten x squared plus divided by 4.
Yeah. And then you substitute for x5 and then minus substitute for x1 and then that's your answer.
Okay, so you basically say 5 to the power of 2 plus 5 to the power of 4 divided by 4, and you subtract 1 to the power of 2 plus 1 to the power of 4 divided by 4. Something like that. And then it would have been 5 to the power of 4. No. 5 to the power. 5 to the power of 4 is 600 u, and 25 at least divided by 4, it gives you 156.25 plus 25 would have given you, so that would have given you 181.25. That is sneaky. And then this one would have been 1 plus 0.25. Okay, that is sneaky. So, that is very sneaky. So all of those three are, so if you, so it's 181.25 minus 1.25, which gives you 180. If you set the two plus one another, you would have gotten that one. Okay, that is quite sneaky. At least if you just substituted the 5 in, then it would have been 5 to the power of 3, would have given you 125, plus 10 would have given you 135. And then if you then minus the 1 when you substitute it. So if you didn't integrate that and just used that, at least there wasn't an answer. But this is actually quite important, that normally we have a 0. So normally we would have just ignored the 0 and we would have just had that answer, but because it's 1, there is something small, and remember that you need to subtract the 2. Okay, that was yes. My online calculator also says 180, but interesting again, so that you know what online calculator to use. I think that is also the important one, because you need to at least say to the calculator what you want to do. Okay, so let's quickly, I want to see if I can at least, so let's do this. And at least I can just see more of it, and we can make it a bit bigger. Okay, so it seems to me we're talking there, and please, whoever posted it, I've got it as 2x plus y is smaller or equal to 120. So if it's not that, just shout at me and say no. Then the second one, I've got 2 or x plus 2 y is smaller or equal to, is that 100? If not, and then the other one is x.
It's 140, John.
Is it 140? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then that is x plus y is smaller or equal to 80.
That's right.
Okay. And then they say, so they give you that, and then they tell you is drawn and the feasibility, set, and then they give you determine the, what was that, maximum? And then that is 20x plus, seems like.
Sorry, I've tried to resend it to you. It came out a bit dark, so let me
No,
resend
that's That's fine. It's
Oh, okay.
you just tell me that is right, that what I've written down.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Okay, cool. And what is there? What is that? Determine where? What value? Okay, so let's quickly see. So that's okay. So let's look at this one first. So when x is 0, y is 120. Oh, and they actually give us that is the first line, that's the second line, that's the third line. It's interesting. So it would have been, I'm just trying to okay, maximize the value. So try to just draw myself this picture. So that's the first line. The second one was 140. That's the second one. Okay. And the third one is again smaller. So they actually, so we're only looking at that region. The region wasn't colored in or anything like that. Huh, okay, no. So wow. Okay, so basically you're looking at point A, B. So all point A, it can't be point A for maxima. So you're looking at nearly that point and that point for maxima. So that's quite interesting. I just want to check if I'm reading it right again. So, there I made a mistake.
I put a clear one for you
Yes.
on the chat.
I saw now, so I'm now working on that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to, so I just saw I made a mistake. So all is smaller, so it is smaller, smaller, and smaller. So we're actually working with this area, because it needs to be smaller than all of those lines. So it is basically smaller than that area, smaller than that area. So we're working with in this block. So that's why A, B, C, and D is basically possible answers. So at least A, we know the point is 0 and 70. For D, we know the point is 60 and 0. For B and C, we will need to calculate. So that is, so I will first use the 0 and 70 and the 60 and 0 before I need to calculate those 2 points, because then I will need to say the second equation is equal to the third equation to get me that point. And that one I need to say the third equation is equal to the first equation to get me that point. So a lot of work that I need to do. So I would first look at those two and see if I get maybe 1,200 when I know I'm fine. So let's look at putting in, oh, but you need to maximize it. So that's for other things. So you're not looking for the smallest, you're looking for the biggest. So it is probably one of those two. Okay, but let's quickly, so if I substitute 0 in there and 70 in there, I get 2,100. If I substitute 60 in there, 0 in there, I get the 1,200. So at least I know those two are not one of the options, because maximize will already be at that point of 2,100. Okay, so I would have assumed that one of those will give you a bigger value and you would have guessed 4, but we probably want to work that out. So let's quickly check. So I'm first going to make like a rough estimate and to see. So I would have said that point C is probably 40. So there's no maths in here. This is purely me making a estimated guess. So I would have said, okay, that looks like 40. That looks like 40. That nearly looks like probably less than 20, but let's go for 20. And that probably is a bit more than 60, but not 70. So let's say 65. And again, purely guessing, but then at least it will give me some kind of indication. So if I work with a 40 times with 20, that would have given me 800. If I worked with 40 times with 30, that would have given me 1,200. So that would have given me roughly 2,000. So if I pushed that up to 50, I would have gotten 1,500 plus 800, which could have been 2,300. So that could still be, if I look at the 20 and 65, so 20 times that is 400. The 65 times 50 gives me 1950 plus 400, okay, which gives me 23. So even if that is just 60 and 20, it would give me 2,200. So okay, so I would have gone for 2,200 just by looking at it. So let's quickly just, that was equation 3 and that was equation 2. So let's quickly look at equation 2 and 3 and see if we solve it. So if we have equation 2, it is x plus 2y is equal to 140. X plus y is equal to 80. So I would have said let's subtract the 2. When the x's disappear, y will be equal to 60, which was actually a good guess of mine. Then if I put in 60 in there, x would have been 20. Okay, so it would actually have been that point. That was where you have maximized it. So it would have given you option 4. Okay, happy with that one?
Hello, I'm sorry, I'm being lost a little bit here. So we are now trying to maximize.
Yes.
And I see now we will highlighted that area we are working with, and then I see now we are calculating the coordinates for these different for
Yes.
the different 4 points. I see how to do that. Now, when I've calculated those coordinates, what next? What do I do? Where
Okay.
do the coordinates come into place?
So you need to use that coordinates within that profit function or maximize function. So you will need to use that coordinates and replace it in that function. So you would need to say 20 times 20 would give you 400.
Sorry, that function is z is equal to
20x plus 50
20x
plus 50,
20x plus 30
yes, plus 50y.
30y. Okay.
Yeah.
So I substitute these coordinates in this
Yes,
in z equation, and then I will get my maximum profit.
precisely. Yes.
Is this the same with that minimizing, just that the z in minimizing the coordinate will be for minimum?
100%. Exactly the
Oh,
same. So it's
thank
exactly
you.
the same.
So it's just what I'm told.
Yes. And that is why when I first looked at it, I wanted to say the 1,200. So that would, if you needed to minimize it, your option 1 would have been the option to go for. So it is all in what they are asking. So if they said you need to minimize, it would have been the 1,200. But they're asking for maximize, so you need the biggest one. So that is why it's option 4. So they can, with the same information, they can ask you both questions. And I think that is
Sorry, now
important.
I'm getting lost a little bit. How would I have gotten the 1,200 now
Okay,
if I'm minimizing?
so then you would have, which one did I use? So you would have used point D. So you would have put in the 60, so 60 times 20 would have given you 1,200, and the 0 times y would have given you 0, so you would have been, so the 60 times the 20 would have given you a 1,200.
So it's just a matter of which coordinate to use there.
Precisely.
And now how do I know which one minimizes and which one maximizes?
See, that is, you basically need to work out all 4 points, and the one that's the smallest will minimize it for you, and the one that's the biggest will maximize it for you. That is just
Okay.
that's just unfortunately. So there's not, unless you use one of the online tools, there is not like just a right answer to get it to you.
Oh, okay. No, I understand. So I can work. Mm.
Yes, there was another. Yes, they can even ask you a break even as well.
Oh, good God. And then what do I do there?
Sorry. So yeah, so I think everybody feels like that now. So for the break even, it's okay. So it would have been difficult for break even here because you can't really have. How would you have done break even here? Interesting. I don't know how you would have done.
Let's leave it,
Don't
Jean,
let's
please.
leave it.
Thank
Let's leave
you.
it. Let's leave it. Yeah, let's keep it as is.
Please.
I see Cisco, you're already going for Jinmei, Okay, let's go to another question. Let me just insert. Okay, so let's quickly, there was questions on Let me quickly. Cisco, what paper was it again? I'm just trying now to look. Okay, questions 1 to 4, May, June 2018. Let me just quickly see. Oh, this paper was. And I think the important thing for tomorrow is if you see your first question as a terrible question, or you go to the one that you nearly feel the safest or the easiest for you to answer, instead of trying the most difficult, that you just build up some confidence in it. It's not as you need to answer the question and then go to the next one. So I think look for the ones that you are most comfortable in answering, and then get to that. So I'm just quickly copying in some of those questions, and then I'll share my screen again, unless you do see the screen. Okay, so let me quickly.
Sorry, sir.
Yes.
From which paper is this?
This is going to be from a 2018 paper, May, June 2018.
Okay, thank you.
And just quickly a thumbs up if you can see it. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's, if a demand function of a commodity is Q, fixed cost of that, variable cost of 15 Rand per unit produced, when the profit function in terms of P. Oh, shoot. Is that, so fixed cost, so I'm just trying, let me quickly see. The total cost, I'm just writing down a few formulas, and that is, what is the other one? Total revenue. Where's my page? Total revenue is also equal to P times Q, and then profit. Okay, so that is when, okay, let's quickly do that. So profit is, well, let's use this sign. Is equal to total revenue minus total cost. Okay, so let's quickly check if we can do something about this one. So total revenue is P times Q. So it is P times Q, and we know what Q is. And I'm going to write total cost here because total cost is variable cost. Okay, so let's change it there already. So total cost is variable cost plus fixed cost. So I can already say a fixed cost of 1,000. That I already know. And for variable cost of 15 Rand per unit. So 15 Rand per unit, which is, what will I say there, which is Q. Agree, not agree? Sure, so this is actually, is it this difficult? Okay, so is it really this difficult? Is everybody agreeing with me on this one so far?
Can I please ask?
Yes.
Aren't we supposed to change the formula into P equals to change that formula to make P the constant?
Okay, so you need to.
Because why I'm asking?
Yeah.
As we go into what do you call this thing? The equation is starting with Q equals to 40 minus and the profit is total cost and total revenue. So I think it will be better if we change the formula into P rather than into Q.
Okay, so you wanted to say P is equal to and then change that.
Yes, because I feel it's gonna be more easier when we're gonna
Okay,
the equation.
So and I think it's important that when you look at this and see what they're asking, so they're asking you to write the profit function in the terms of P. So P needs to be in the formula. So if you would make it P is equal to, you're basically going to substitute P with a Q, and then you will end up in your formula with Q. So if I wanted the function in terms of Q, then that is what you needed to do.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I wanted, and I think that is also important that you now say it. So again, in the exam, they can ask it both ways. So that you still need to know that total revenue is P times Q, because they could have asked you to write it in terms of Q, and then you needed to substitute the Q or the P, sorry. So then you would have done it the other way around. So I think that is important, that they can ask it either or. So it's not that it's just simple the one way. And I think that is what makes this such a difficult subject. It is, they can ask it either or. There is just not one way of asking it.
Okay, thank you. I see it now.
Okay, cool. So I would then multiply everything in. I think somebody already is giving me the answer. So let's quickly check. So it would have been 40p as you multiply that in. minus 0.2p to the power of 2. So in there, there's not going to be square. So I'm looking at options. And when I'm saying, okay, it needs to be minus 0.2p, so I would already eliminate the first one because that was positive. Then I still need to subtract, and I first do the multiplication within so that I don't forget how to subtract it in the end. So 15 times 40 is 600. 15 times 0.2 is 3, so it is minus 3p plus 1000. That was actually not too bad. So then it is 40p minus 0.2p. 600 plus 1000 is 1600. A minus in front, so it's minus 1600. So all three of them is still, and then it becomes plus 3p. So we have 43p minus 0.2p square minus 1600, which gives us option 2. Okay, so this one was, yeah, it was a bit difficult than the normal way, and you need to nearly understand how to work out variable cost, the fixed cost, how it fits into your total cost, total revenue, the P times the Q. Okay, so that was quite an interesting one. Break even. Okay, so let's quickly check this one. A fixed cost of 4 Rand, variable cost unit is that, and the demand function is that. The PS price and that. Okay, Zainab, on which one are you referring to? to the 2018 question of Lauren, or I hope it's to Lauren's question. Yeah, okay, please. Okay, so this one, I think so. So we need to. I always just do that for break even. So anybody else that wants to explain this, then I don't need to write. What would anybody have done with this one? Anybody? Would you have been able to do this in the exam? And I'm just writing. I don't know if this is what we're asking. So we need to know where total revenue is equal to total cost. So it's basically very similar to the previous one, It's just we need to say whether two are equal to one another. So whether there is no profit, and then we need to basically say where there's no profit, what will the Q be? So so let's quickly, total revenue is again P times Q. So here I would have said and that is nearly to the previous question. I know that I now need to get to the Q, where the previous one I needed to get to the P. So where in the previous one I substituted to use the P, here I know I need to get, my answer needs to be Q equal to something. So that's why I substitute in the Q. So so total revenue is equal to that. So let's see what is your total cost. So total cost is fixed cost, which is 4 Rand, plus the variable cost, that is 1 Rand per unit. So I would have said 1Q. So the higher the Q, the more the total cost would go up. And then, according to me, that is then that one equal to that one, and that should be equal to 0. So let's multiply that in already. So that is 10Q minus 2Q to the power of 2 is equal to 4 plus Q. I hope that is right. Is that what somebody else is also getting? So it will be minus 2Q to the power of 2 plus 9Q minus 4 will be equal to 0. Then I would be sneaky and change some of these signs, but I can just work with something that is positive. So I would have said, or rather, if I want to factorize this, I don't even know if I will get the answer, but that is how I would have done it. And then hopefully the one must be 2Q. The other one will be Q. I know that that must be a negative, that must be a positive. So both of them will be negative signs because negative times negative will give me the positive. So that will be that it is 2Q is equal to 1 or Q is equal to 4. So Q is equal to 0.5 or 4, but now let's look at the catch again. In thousands, so if you didn't do the in thousands, you would have said 1, but it's actually then option 3. Okay, so again, nearly like when we had that chat on WhatsApp this afternoon also, or was it yesterday? If you didn't do it in millions, there would have been an answer for you as well. So again, just be here very clear if there was, if you didn't change it into thousands by multiplying it out by 1,000, there would have been an option for you as well. Okay. Yes. And the scary thing for that silly mistake there is the answer, which is actually a bit sneaky again, but yes, there is an answer for that silly mistakes, which is scary. Okay, so I'm going to look at this and I'm going to give tips how to do it. Okay, so the firm's total cost function is given as VAT, and the total revenue is VAT. How many units should be produced to maximize the profit? Okay, so what you do here, maximize profit. So you need to say the profit function is total revenue minus total cost. You will get a quadratic function, and to maximize the profit is at the turning point. So it would have been a function like that, the turning, because it would have been negative. So the turning point to maximize would be where you then would have said minus B over 2A. Okay, I just know we've got not a lot of time, so I'll rather give you tips now on how you would have done it. So you would have basically said the total revenue minus the total cost. It will still give you a quadratic equation, and to maximize or to minimize, you will need to just work out the turning point. And then again, so it's probably that answer. Then again, just look in thousands. So whatever your amount is, if it was probably 7, your answer would be, do profit function and then turning point calculation. But again, just look at that in thousands. So when you calculate for answer, what you get times 1,000. Yeah, we had a lot of these questions in here. The demand function. The demand function of a firm is that where P and Q represent the price and quantity respectively. At what price is revenue at a maximum? Sure, so again, revenue, total revenue is P times Q. So now again the same. So you basically need to work out, and here you can decide which one you want to do first. I would substitute Q there, so I would say P 90 minus 1.5. Okay, so yeah, because they want price. So they want price. Then you multiply it out, and then you need to factorize, and that, you multiply it out, turning point again, and that is your value again. Yo, okay, this paper, there was a lot of this. Quite interesting. Okay, and then option 2 is apparently the answer. Okay, a lot of that in this paper. So that was turning point. That was basically nearly the same, but you needed to work with a total cost. Sure. Okay, a lot of turning point in this one. So very important in this paper, it was that. So let's quickly check. Oh, I see scribbles here. Okay, so there was other answers also. So was there another one that I needed to to look at for you guys before we say good luck? Let me quickly, I'm scrolling here through the quickly shout out another question and then I'll look at it. We've got another 6 minutes, so let's quickly, or do you just want to chat about the exam paper? Okay, let's quickly see, that was on which paper? Number 28. Was that also from a 2018? Okay, let's quickly. Who's paging in the background? Okay, let's quickly see if we can quickly get to this one. Can you guys see, or must I share again? Okay, so let's quickly check this one. Can you guys see? Okay, cool. Okay, so it was question 28. At present rate at which heating coal is consumed by a large department store was given by, what was it, oil, by the equation that where T is yes, find the amount of all as a function of, what does that say, T? So was the,
Yes, it's fine. Find the amount of oil consumed as a function of T.
Is it, so the original is 1500 e to the
power
power
0.01 T. That's what it
T.
looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they want basically, with T is yes, find the amount of oil consumed as a function of T. Sure. This is quite interesting. I actually don't know what they're asking. That's my biggest. So is it? Yes. Let me quickly check something. This is actually, I actually don't have the faintest idea what we're asking. Find the amount of oil consumed as a function of T. Yes, you can. Is all of those also T's? Yes.
Okay. The way I understand it, they are giving the rate of consumption, right?
Yes.
So in our study guide, they say that anything to do with rate is the derivative.
Okay.
So that's the way every time, whenever I see the word rate, and like you said, rate of change, rate of consumption, rate of anything is the derivatives. So they are asking, find the amount of, not find the rate amount. So you would integrate this current function, and then that would be basically your answer.
Yeah, I agree with Zainab.
Okay, and okay, so it's not that you need to write the function as T is equal to. It is just
No.
okay. See, so that is where
in terms of T.
Okay, so that is where my English now is obviously letting me down here. Okay, then it is a normal way
a
of
normal
doing
integration.
normal
You just integrate and then
Okay,
that's basically what they're asking.
Okay,
sometimes
so
they might throw in T is equal to something, and then you would find the actual amount.
Okay, so that then makes it
But
easier.
in the question, they're not.
Okay, so then what does your integration rule say when you have that? And I think that is basically then what's the important
option
one.
3, if I'm not mistaken. 1,500 is 0,01 T divided by 0,01 plus C. Option 3.
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken, maybe somebody can just make it work. I don't have the answer there.
See, my guess is always free if I don't know the answer. So that would have been also my guess, but that is, so what are the integration rules when you work with E again? So, and that is, I think you guys just must make sure, and I think I've written it somewhere in those notes as well. Let me quickly go to my...
The easy way I remember it is if E is on its own, like it's like 0,01 T, not plus something, then for integration, it's divided by the number, and for derivatives, you multiply it by the number.
Yes.
So that's where I just remember it easily.
So that is basically what you need to do. I think just go to that note of the integration as well. And this is the E one. So
confused, you can always make 0,01 T equal to U and then do how they taught us in the study guide if you get confused.
Yeah. Okay. But I hope this is not in your exams question like this. I hate it when it's not just confusing, but it is also a bit of English that is, everybody's got free. Okay, cool. So it must be free. Was this the end of last year paper? Sure, I wonder how. See, that's why the guys that wrote it last year with their Scully method of not getting an answer is always they use C with all the ones that or free for the ones they didn't know the answer. So that's maybe why they did so good in last year's paper.
Mr. John,
yes.
Number 3 doesn't make sense if you look at what the integration rule of E is, isn't it? So E remains E to the power of x plus C if you integrate it.
Okay, see, so, and that's where I think it's important. This is not, if it was just e to that,
Okay.
when it is et et
Okay, makes sense.
et
Yeah.
plus c.
Okay.
But it's, yeah, so, and I think that is also the important thing. It doesn't matter if it's integration, differentiation, when it's not just the simple e to the power of t, when it's not just as the normal rule.
Okay, thank you.
The piggy fat one, let's quickly, the intensive pig fattening unit is adding
Sorry, Jean, again here in question 28, why is it not option 4?
Let's quickly check. That is a good question. Since I haven't now worked it out at all, I assume because it's the 1,500 in front, so that stays the same. So if you would have guessed, it would have been between the option 1 and option 3. And then because because that constant, so, and I think that is, so if it was AET, remember that would have happened. So because there's now, that one is the one that's different, you need to make sure that that is different. Yes, so Zainab,
I'm just looking at your notes here. So
yeah, but
sure.
but remember.
So there is, so that means there is another rule.
Yes, and that, I think it's the same when you look at the differentiation. I don't even think with the differentiation you also, so the differentiation, when it's even like that, when it's not the simple rule, when it becomes, I think, what is it, the chain rule or so when it automatically becomes another rule, just because it's not the simple way that it was written. So I think that is the important thing, is there's certain rules that are easy, and then there are rules that you actually then need to start using, or the chain rule or the product rule for the differentiation, and it's nearly the same for the integration. So if it's not one of the simple ones, then you need to start working with the other. Okay, cool. See, and I think this is, because the time is up, we are going to be disconnected as well. Okay, so online also gives that. So what does the online give you? Option 2. Peter, it looks like, so just check when whoever does this one online to share with us the process. And I think that is important. Just so that we can just get the build up of how it, because for online would have given us step by step. Okay, there's Zainab have also option 3, for that one as well. Okay, so there is in the chat some answers to the rest as well. Okay, let's call it. Otherwise, we're going to be busy for the rest of the evening. Use the WhatsApp, please. And for the guys that don't want to hear the WhatsApp, just mute for now. But for the other guys, please use the WhatsApp, and I'll see if I can check during the evening still the WhatsApp. But good luck for tomorrow, guys. The recording will be available soon afterwards, so I think that's why we'll also be cut off so that they can quickly load it onto the system. So good luck for tomorrow. Hope you guys actually that it goes smoothly, that there's no surprises in the exam, and that you guys pass it tomorrow. Not that I don't want you on the WhatsApp group next semester, but that you just do good. Okay. So please have try to get some rest in before tomorrow. Don't try to do an all-nighter. That the brain is not too much fried for tomorrow's session, and then just do good, and hopefully it will be a good exam. Okay, good luck, guys. I'm gonna stop with the recording, but if you quickly wanted to say good luck to one another, please do so. Then I'll just stop the recording.
Yeah, Jean, just many thanks to you. I've been there since the start, before the virus at Paro campus, and you've been great, honestly.
Thank you.
So my thanks to you personally and the rest of the team. Good luck, guys.